It takes a village to foster a vocation, or perhaps we could say it takes a church to build a culture of vocations. Near the end of his life, St. John Paul II penned a little book on the occasion of his 50th anniversary of priestly ordination. Gift and Mystery was the title. And he wrote about various influences on his vocation, and he mentions many things in there. The life of the parish where he grew up, the stone quarry where he worked at the start of the Second World War, and the laborers that he met in that place. Several priests and religious who impacted him very strongly in his early life. And of course, his own parents, and especially his father. Remember that his mother died when he was very young. But he was greatly moved by the example of his father's faith and prayerfulness. Interestingly, they never spoke about the possibility of him having a vocation to the priesthood. But despite that, the Holy Father was able to say about his father, his example was, in a way, my first seminary, a kind of domestic seminary. Pope John Paul wrote that God used certain individuals and situations to make his voice heard. Now, God spoke to him not from the clouds, but through the people and the circumstances of his life. The call to serve as a priest was mediated to him through the church. It takes a church to foster a vocation. In all of the influences that Pope John Paul described, he was being introduced to the person of Jesus Christ. He was coming to know the Lord and drawing closer to him through the example of his father, through life in his parish, through the struggles of the church in Poland, through his profound Marian devotion. He was coming to know the Lord more and more. He was coming to know Jesus. And it was in that encounter that he heard the call to serve the Lord and his people in the priesthoods. The most important thing that we can do as a church, and maybe it seems obvious, but the most important thing that we can do is introduce people to the Lord Jesus, so that they not only know about him, but know him and love him. And from among them, the Lord will certainly call some to serve him in the priesthood and in consecrated life. And some will be called to marriage and family, to form that seedbed, that environment where children of faith will be born and raised, and from which new vocations will spring. In the end, a culture of vocations is a fancy phrase for this: a church totally focused on Jesus Christ. Such a church will never lack for priestly or religious vocations, for we will always be attuned to the voice of Christ, who calls people to know him, love him, and serve his kingdom.